So the way I go about figuring out what I'm going to do with these, right, is the first thing I'll do is I'll look at the minimap and see where the clusters are set up so that I know where there's a lot of them. And then what I'll do afterwards is I'll look and see, like, this is runic monsters, this is monsters, chest, and then a big one over here with rarity for monsters, but it's immune to fizz. So what I'll do is I'll go, okay, well, this is a lot of monster buffs for currency. I like currency because it's an easy one to get, and stacking that's pretty good. So what I want to do is I want to get this quantity from here and this runic one from here. And the runic ones are these big totem poles here. So you want to get the buffs first before you start breaking totem poles. But because it's per blast, so I want to get this quantity from here first while avoiding these two runics right here, right? So there's two runics right here. I want the quantity from here first, so I'm going to do this. So I don't see how those are turning green. I don't want those green right away, right? So instead of doing all of these, I'm actually going to put this right here so it's off of the edge. So now these two aren't affected. But I'm going to get quantity of items dropped by monsters and rarity of items dropped by monsters. So the next explosion has these two modifiers to it. So then I'm thinking, okay, well now I want to give everything this here. So I'm going to put it right here. And this is going to give me these two chests and these two runic monsters. This explosion now has rarity of items dropped, 40% increased quantity by items of monsters, and runic monsters have additional drop chance of currency. That explosion has two runic monsters in it, right? So if you come down here, you'll see what this explosion right now has according to the stacks you've given to it, right? So then, now that I have the two stacks that I want, if I wanted more, like excavated chest, I could go for this and, you know, get it in there. But I'm going to grab it by way of grabbing these two runic monsters here, which are the big totem poles, right? So the yellow one, so there's the white chest here, which is a normal chest. This one is a medium chest. And the red flagpoles, which I don't have any of, are just a large chest. They're just bigger chests, so they have more stuff in them. I don't know if they do anything to rarity. But right now, because of the pillars that I'm getting, I only care about monsters, because monsters are what I'm buffing, right? These are buffs to monsters, so chests are going to be pretty mediocre. So for this one, there's a rune a rune here and a rune there, so I want to make sure I get all three of those runes. So that's all three of those runes. And then there's another two runes here, so I want to get both of those runes. I'm actually going to not worry about getting that one. I could go like this. Actually here, because there's nowhere else for me to go from here. If I put this here, then the only rune that I have left is up there, and it's really hard for me to get to that, right? So I'm actually just going to grab that, and I'm going to grab this. Now that I'm looking at this, this is the chain, right? So I'm going to blow it up, and this first one, all it does is buff. This isn't going to spawn anything that matters. This second one spawns two ruin mobs that have all the buffs. And from here on out, everything has the runic buffs to it, that they should be dropping additional currency, they should be dropping more quantity, and all that stuff. So it's an order matters thing and depending on whether or not you get Plymouths that give runic monsters buffs, Plymouths that gives chest buffs, Plymouths that give overall pack size buff, or general monster buffs, is what you're focusing on getting the drops from. So there, I did everything in the correct order or so, but the reality is I didn't really get much for it, right? So I didn't get much reward for it, even though I did it all. And that can happen. Just because you did it in the right order, it doesn't mean that they're guaranteed to drop it. It's just the increased chance of 35% for stacked decks, 50% for currency, 40% increased quantity, and of course rarity on the last explosion, because that was the last thing I picked up. And now you do have to watch out, because immune to fizz I don't care about, but if it was like immune to fire, I probably wouldn't pick that as a buff if I was running it, right? So it is still up to RNG as to what you end up getting at the end of the day, but by getting those buffs in the right order, you can kind of give yourself better odds to get stuff. So here you could see the stacked decks coming in, you know, from the chest, 35% chance to receive a stacked deck from a chest. Well, I just got 3 stacked decks because I put those chests at the after I got the Plymouth 4 stacked decks. So that's how the system works. So you do have to take time to understand where everything is and what you want to do. So hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, put in the comments down below.